What's the good word, y'all? It's your boy DKB here. Let me let the intro run through real quick. But welcome to our New York Jets rebuild, and we will get things popping. So give me a quick moment. Enjoy the intro. All right. Welcome back. What's the good word, guys? So we are running through our New York Jets full rebuild. And I believe it might have been Spotrac. It might have been overthecap.com. But one of those allows you to go through simulating free agency for your team. And I do want to find out if I need to find out if they have taken into account some of the current restructures like CJ, Tyler Conklin, DJ Reed that have taken place. Okay, so I think this is it here. So let me share the screen. Appreciate you guys dropping in. I know it's late, but I am on the West Coast and I have kids. All right, so let's, where am I? Here we go. All right, so Spotrac.com. Let's see, we have this manage roster option. I do, again, want to see if they are taking into account some of the current restructures that have taken place. I don't know if they have like a very generic version on Spotrac that just does something basic in terms of like the restructure or how specific it is that you can do. But I think it's just like a button you hit. It's like a restructure, a little plus sign or something like that. Okay, here we go. So a base salary restructure. Okay, so it won't be anything crazy. If we choose to try to do some restructures here, we won't be adding void years and all that stuff like a real GM could possibly do. So I feel like the prudent thing to do would be to complete the restructures that currently got done. I believe it was Lakin, DJ, CJ, and Tyler. Which, okay, let me see something. So is that 13 million before? Is this updating in real time? That can't be legit, right? If we're okay, let's run through this again. Lakin Tomlinson gets restructured. Boom. DJ Reed gets restructured. CJ and Tyler got restructured. I'm not seeing too much of a real savings, but that's fine. That's fine. Let's just roll with the fact and say that that's super weird. It's like we only actually got money from CJ. All right. I'm not going to get too crazy with it. Let's just roll with it for now. We have our 4 restructured. How does, okay, sign a free agent. Process pay cut, pay raise. We could trade for players. Okay, so the start of all of this would definitely be us going to initiate a trade. Okay, let's get our trade for Mr. Aaron Rodgers done. All right, where is the trading option on here? Ah, okay. This is not the friendliest thing I've ever seen, but to be fair, I also probably should have tinkered around with this beforehand. All right, where is our guy, Aaron? Okay, and we want to trade for you. They will be going to the Jets, and I do want to try out Ian from Jet Central's trade proposal. So he said a it was a second rounder this year and a second rounder next year. Can you only hold on? How does this work? Oh, okay. So we might need to hold off on the Aaron Rodgers trade until we try to run through our mock draft. I'm not a fan of this. Hold on. I do want to see if Over the Cap has some kind of free agency builder too. Maybe theirs is a little bit better. This is not going to go down how I thought it would potentially, but nonetheless, even if we can't actually run through like a true simulation of free agency, I think we can at least go out and try to figure out which guys it is we would want to pick up. Yeah, I don't think I could do it the way I was thinking this works. Tough. Okay. That is a fail. Hold on, guys. All right, so doing the restructures didn't really help. Trying to trade, you can't do picks and all of that fun stuff, so that doesn't really help us either. So I would say let's just go through taking a look at which free agents we would potentially want to acquire. It's not going to be the best. It won't be the best way to go about it because we can't really tell what we're missing out on in the cap necessarily. I can at least add a free agent. Okay, so the first question for me, technically on the offensive side, would really be at the wide receiver position. And the question really comes down to, can we get a clear upgrade over Corey Davis? I think the answer is no, at least if you want to focus on the clear upgrade piece. Adam Thielen was the most recent name that was interesting, but considering the age, considering what we're going to ask to be done on offense, I don't think it's going to be legit. The two receivers at the top of my mind are the guys that have been coming up pretty consistently, either Alan Lazard or why is the other name escaping me? Patriots, bruh. Uh, Nikhil Harry? I don't think that was him. That might be the name. It is, I guess. Oh, Jacoby Myers. There we go. Jacoby Myers or Alan Lazard is what I'm realistically looking at because everything else doesn't really scream anything exciting to me. And I think we do need a big body. It sounds like nobody really wants to trust Denzel Mims within this offense. And from what I believe I saw, market value for Lazard and Jacoby Myers was about the same. I think they have them at 12.5 million. I would personally lean towards trying to scoop up Jacoby personally. Does that mean he's just automatically added now? How does that work? Let me see something. Signed free agent. Okay, yeah, they just pop up. No price tag or anything, though. That is weird. So I guess we pick them, and then at the end, it's just going to tell us what our new cap space is. Okay, so Jacoby Myers would be my ideal replacement for Corey Davis. Once we end up addressing wide receiver, I think maybe we try to add somebody to replace a Barrios Tuvia free agency, but I really think it'll probably be one free agent signing and probably a mid to late round draft pick. Also, keep in mind with Aaron Rodgers, we have no idea what's going on there, but there's talk that Randall Cobb or somebody like that could be coming over. Tackle is where things get interesting. I don't know what our investment would end up looking like, but there's a guy that I would absolutely love to see on the roster. Technically, two of them. Andre Dillard, if we want to talk left tackle options. If we want to talk right tackle, it is Jawan Taylor. Where are you at? Or I feel like that's the name, Taylor. From the Jags. Are the Jaguars not in here? Okay. Weird that he wasn't popping up. I would technically look at him. Primarily, the only issue is I think he'd end up pricing himself out of what you want to do. But I would feel much more comfortable going with the Jawan Taylor and a Max Mitchell combination there, and potentially being able to look at a guy like Paris Johnson or whoever we want to select in the first round, and Mekhi Becton and anything else. But Andre Dillard is also a very strong contender. I know he hasn't done anything significant. And as a former first round pick, you'd have concerns about why he had a hard time cracking the roster. But still, I think he'd be worth a gamble on as one of those classic low tier, high upside guys that Joe Douglas likes. Also, a lot of familiarity between them. So Joe Douglas would know just as much about this guy as anybody. Caden, what's up, bro? Why do you do your stream so late? What's good, my man? I do my stream so late because I have kids and they don't go to bed until like anywhere between 9 and 10 o'clock my time. That's funny. I will say, though, I am working on trying to get something earlier in the day. But obviously I work during the week and all that good stuff. So if it were to happen, it'd probably be during like a lunch work break. But let me know, my man. On the weekends, maybe I can get the wifey to, steal them away somewhere. Let's see our guard situation. So the guard spots, I feel a little bit more comfortable. Obviously, Laken Tomlinson's going to be in the plans, probably longer than any one of us expected or would have liked based on what he's done. Elijah Vera Tucker, I really feel like he's going to be slotted in at right guard. It doesn't make sense to really use him as a versatile piece. You like the versatility for emergency purposes. So obviously we need to find a spot. I think the spot where we're looking at an all-pro player is at the right guard position. If we get back into emergency situations, which means a lot of things have to go wrong again, then cool, we can use them at tackle, left guard, et cetera, et cetera. But I think our guard situation in terms of starters is done. It's going to be Laken Tomlinson. It's going to be Elijah Vera Tucker. Guard in terms of a backup is where I think the question mark comes in. And I honestly feel like we probably just end up looking at Nate Herbig again. He was basically a borderline starter for us anyways. He might not be a guy that can play 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 games and give us consistent production, but he can go out there and do a good job in short spurts. And as a guy that's actually a plus size, 330 plus guy, he moved fairly well within our offensive line and what we asked him to do. So I would essentially just look at Nate Herbig as our, break the glass backup guard guy. The center position is where I think things get crazy. So the question really comes down to, would we try to sign a guy again? Connor McGovern, whoever we want to pick out of free agency, and then we go back to the well in the draft and we get a guy that we always get mocked to, like a John Michael Schmitz or somebody like that. It's a toss-up for me, right? I think more often than not, if you talk to somebody, they're going to say when you draft a guy, let him sit, right? Let him identify the game speed and adjust and all of that good stuff. Center is really one of those positions where if you're not overly athletic, you're going to have a hard time trying to compensate right away out of the gates. And if you do have the luxury of being able to sit, I think it can do wonders for somebody's career. So can Connor McGovern be that kind of holdover piece? I don't know if he'd take a 2-year contract. I think what I've seen projection-wise for him was another 3-year, like 20, what did we give him? 27 million, I think, something like that. So I would want to find a guy that maybe is willing to just take a 1-year deal that the coaching staff is comfortable with, can help the rookie learn the ropes, and then we move on. And that may be a guy either like a Ben Jones or an Ethan Pocic, or Posick, however he ends up saying it. But I'm not against going strictly draft options with this. So center is a little bit of a toss-up for me. I don't think there's going to be any surprise names out there, to be honest. And nobody that I'm overly impressed with. But again, I'm not a pro, offensive line scout. So the good news is I did have Daniel Kelly, former New York Jet scout, on maybe a month back. I plan on trying to get a stream with him, as well as I can't remember the other guy, but it was another NFL insider that we had on. I want to try to have them stream with me at the same time so we can kind of break down some of the prospects and run through this same exercise of who we think would be the best options for us. So for now, I would say let's go Ben Jones. I think this is the easiest plug and play option. He's a guy that Keith, what was his name? Keith Martin, our new offensive line coach. He's the guy that he's going to be most comfortable with right away. We've seen what he's done. He's been part of a offensive line that has led top 5 rushing attacks for years on years, and he won't come at an extreme cost. The only concern there is going to be the injury history. He's just coming off of 2 concussions within this last season. And you have to wonder if he's ready to kind of hang up the gloves or not. But for now, seeing as he's available, I would say let's roll with it. Tight end, I wouldn't touch. Fullback, I'm not touching. I don't know what our plans are for if we feel like we need a fullback or not. To be honest, I can't even tell you if I remember that the Titans have used one. Yeah, I don't think there's a lead blocker for Derrick Henry necessarily. So nothing there. Running back, I wanted to address. For those of you that check out my channel, you know I just dropped the Jamal Williams report indicating that we really wanted to scoop him up for like $4 million a year. And I would gladly jump on that. But when you want to talk about just smart team roster building and how undervalued the running back position is, I really just think it makes the most sense to just keep hitting the draft well at that position and seeing if you can strike fire. Quarterback, we're obviously pretty much waiting on Aaron Rodgers. I did hear that he was on he just did some kind of like brief interview or something with Brandon Marshall. I didn't get a chance to check that out yet, but I do want to peep that. So maybe we got a nugget or two about what he plans on doing in some kind of timetable. When we take a look at our edge position, I just feel like offensive line and defensive line is going to be one of those positions where we always address it in free agency. We always address it in the draft. The question is do we end up restructuring Carl Lawson? Once that gets figured out, we'll know if we end up planning on cutting him or not. If he stays, we're looking at Carl Lawson, John Franklin Myers. We need to re-sign Bryce Huff, Jermaine Johnson II, Michael Clemens. Don't forget some of the practice squad guys that probably could have made the roster last year, like Bradley and I. So I would want to say the coaching staff is comfortable running it back with somebody like that. Excuse me. The only other, I feel like maybe a guy like Samson Ebukam would be maybe another guy that we look at. This is a Robert Saleh guy. I think he's just coming off like a 5-sack season with minimal playing time. I want to say he played maybe like 40% of the snaps. I liked Arden Key last year. I love him again this year. I would personally probably go Arden Key over a guy like Samson for the speed element that Arden Key is going to bring and you know, try to keep things mixed up with our defensive line rotations. So I would go Arden Key. So re-signing Herbig, signing Ben Jones to be our 1-year center. Sign Arden Key as part of our rotation there. At the linebacker, well, we need to address defensive tackle as well. This is the hardest thing to me because I feel like we want a guy that's going to be a strong run stopper, and it seems like we're probably going to have to pay to really get a guy like that. Sheldon Rankins is predicted to get $8 to $10 million a year. I want to say Dalvin Tomlinson was supposed to get like $9 million. I might be way undershooting that too. A guy like Taven Bryan would be interesting. That's kind of underwhelmed, but had a lot of the qualities you would like. I can't see us going really super old at this position either. So guys like that will be thrown out in Ndamukong Suh. I don't think that would make a lot of sense. Isaiah Mack is already on our team, so that really shouldn't be there. I think we just gave him a futures contract or something like that not too long ago. We may come back to the defensive tackles just because I want to see what some of the market predictions may be there. Linebacker is tough. I would say re-sign Quincy. My mind is my mind tells me that Quan Alexander is the better prospect, but I think Quincy Williams has the better potential within this defense and what they can do. And we've already seen a strong progression from him, even though there were still some very dumb mistakes. But I don't see us going out and trying to spend, the money it would take to get a Tremaine Edmonds. I would like to see why is his name escaping me? Seahawks, bruh. Bobby Wagner. I would love to see Bobby Wagner within this defense, but again, that's probably going to be about $10 million a year. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense to spend the money. So Quincy would be my go-to. That still leaves us with Hamza Najruddin. Still leaves us with Sherwood. We can still go by the draft, catch us another guy. Cornerback, we don't need to touch. Free safety would be an option, I assume, that we look at. I keep hearing Jimmy Ward would probably be the main guy that we look at. Devin McCourty recently retired. I think that news just came in today. So he wouldn't be an option. I don't know a lot about this free safety free agent class, which probably means that it's not great. Jimmy Ward is probably the guy that we would have to sign looking at this list. I'm not excited by Julian Love. Rodney McLeod would probably be a good addition from what I recall. But, yeah, I wouldn't touch it. Punter, I think, would be an absolute 100% spot that we need to look at somebody, though. Thomas Morstead would be my personal choice. He came in. He did an amazing job for us. I think he would be the biggest upgrade for us. So just from a comfort standpoint and kind of recency bias and seeing what we have, I would go Thomas Morstead. So, by the way, again, for you guys that are coming in, this wasn't this Spotrac like free agency, like rebuild your team thing. It's not set up necessarily the way I thought it was, or at least it's not working away in a way that I would understand. But ideally, Jacoby Myers is our wide receiver we would be using to replace Corey Davis. I'm comfortable with him making the extra $2 to $3 million to replace Corey Davis, get a guy that's been on the field more, similar skill sets, can do things. Jacoby Myers is actually a better route runner than Corey Davis, although Corey Davis may be better in terms of the ability to reel in the ball, even though we've seen a bit of butterfingers from him. The other guys that we're looking at, pretty small free agency group, but Jawan Taylor will be my choice at right tackle. He's played, I want to say, like 98% of the games he's been able to get in. Matter of fact, I don't think he's actually ever missed a game. I think I might be confusing him with somebody else, but he's never missed a game, if I recall. He's given solid production in Jacksonville, and I think he would just be a consistent presence on the offensive line, which is really what we need. Nate Herbig, I think he showed a lot of potential for us as a plus-sized offensive lineman on a roster that values, elite athletic traits. And so I think we can continue to groom him, and maybe he can take over for a guy like Lakinson down the line if we end up keeping him that long. But nonetheless, he was a hidden gem for us. Ben Jones, I like coming over from the Titans. He's going to provide that consistent force, and he's going to kind of be the tone setter for this team in terms of what we think a high-producing offensive line is supposed to look like. Arden Key, again, I liked him from last year. He was able to produce pretty solid production. Once again, I think we take a one-year flyer on him. We use that speed element to our advantage. Quincy Williams would be the linebacker out of him and Quan that I choose. to try to continue to build around in his defense. And then Thomas Morstead, I think, is just a clear-cut upgrade over what we would currently have on our roster. And some of these restructures don't seem to work. I tried to do the same things for the guys, DJ, Lakin, all of that good stuff. And I said we only saved like an additional $1 million. So I don't know what's going on there, but I want to see kind of what this looks like. Cap space, yeah, nothing changed. So I'm not sure what is so did it not even take any of the, yeah, they're on here. So okay, I guess we needed to plug in our own contractual values. That doesn't make a whole ton of sense to me. So that is what it is, but that is the free agency class that I would currently be looking at. That's wild. Okay. I'll play around with this for the future. Maybe I can get it to work and actually get a better understanding. But let's jump into some draft talk because and I want to say we used PFF last time. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think PFF was the only one that allowed us to actually go to 3 rounds for some reason. The other one capped us off at like 2 when I did my 3-round mock draft. Let's see. This actually looks like the one that didn't work too well for me, but okay, cool. So it's letting me do the full 7. I do want things to go relatively slow. And we want our boys at the New York Jets. Settings. I don't know if any of this will matter. Okay, this is just the general setup. Cool. All right, so the way that we're going to play this is I'm going to try to go with our I'm going to try to simulate Aaron Rodgers coming to the New York Jets. I'm going to try to use Ian from Jets Central trade prediction that he considered a fair, fair situation for both teams. It was a 2nd rounder this year and a 2nd rounder next year, which I think he had conditions that can go to a 1st. So all of these say they're slow, and it still feels like they move relatively quick. Okay, Bryce Young goes to the Panthers. CJ Stroud to the Texans. Will Anderson goes to the Cardinals. So the Bears traded back again? Oh, no. Okay, yeah. The Panthers were 9th. I got you. Tyree Wilson, Christian, Will Levis, Witherspoon, Skoronski comes off the board. Okay. So I don't see a clock or anything on here, so nothing should force me to have to pick right away. Okay, cool. So, King Green can't see. Okay, fire. I appreciate that. It was supposed to auto share whatever tab that I was currently looking at, but let me go ahead and put it back up. All right, so we're looking at PFF. My bad. I didn't realize it didn't switch over, but here's essentially the rundown of the draft so far. Bryce Young went up top, CJ Stroud, Will Anderson, first non-quarterback. Richardson makes it to the Colts. Carter is dropping. I don't know if that's just based on a quarterback run or if they're trying to like simulate the trouble that he's in. So maybe that's realistic, but I can definitely see the Seahawks absolutely running to the podium with that card if he gets there. Tyree Wilson to the Lions. Christian Gonzalez, first cornerback, goes to the Raiders. Will Levis goes to the Falcons. I do find that interesting considering they supposedly were heavily interested in Lamar Jackson. They also can offer the best trade package to get Lamar Jackson. Granted, I know he's kind of being like blackballed right now, but I wouldn't see them. I like Desmond Ridder. I don't think there's any indication that you would need to automatically spend a top 10 pick again to grab a guy like Will Levis. Devon goes to the Bears. So they trade all the way down. They end up landing themselves at least the second cornerback off the board. Peter Skoronski goes to the Eagles, who need to kind of retool their offensive line. Miles Murphy almost makes it to us. He goes to the Titans and Paris Johnson. So 2 of the top 3 tackles are already off the board for us. We do have some trades here. And what am I looking at here? Select the team to trade with. Now, I'm confused. I thought they were offering me picks and not the other way around. Yeah, I don't like PFF. Boy, this looks odd to me. Okay. So I don't see anything else highlighting if somebody was interested in me. Teams interested in the pick would be the Commanders, okay, Bills, and the Bengals. Okay, so for those that didn't see the 3rd round mock draft before, the Bills offered a package of like the 27th pick that we see here. They gave me a first rounder in next year's draft. And I think they gave me an additional 3rd this year. So basically we trade back in the 1st and we pick up a 3rd round. I didn't get options from these guys, but they also aren't suggesting any picks from what I see. So I guess they just tell you what the offer is. And then I see these C's here, but I don't know what those actually mean. Is this the package of picks that they're suggesting? Okay, so let's say, let me see who's on the board. No wide receivers have come off yet, right? Jackson's there, Quentin's there, Kalijah, he had the crazy combine. He's the guy that is being compared to Aaron Donald, same school, elite measurables, all of that good stuff. DK, use the drop down to see other teams. I got you. I don't like that. That's very weird. I don't think you should suggest that a team is interested in the picks and then not put together a trade package, because I would go Madden. I'll turn this into a Madden game, and I want the whole team. Brian Branch is there, Lucas Van Ness, Joey Porter, Dalton Kincaid, and I want to say Connor Hughes was saying we should run to the podium if he was still on board. Brian Brisset. So I will tell you guys the names that interest me, and this is just in general in terms of first round picks. So I'm not interested in a wide receiver this early. That's just my preference. I don't think we need to invest that heavy of a pick for guys when I still feel confident in Garrett Wilson. I still feel confident even in a guy like Elijah. I wouldn't say, I don't think it's likely that we would pick a defensive tackle this early either. Unless Jalen Carter was to like slide to us. Brian Branch is interesting. I'm still very much so tied to the opinion that Robert Saleh would not invest a round one pick in a guy that he doesn't think is a unicorn. And based on what we've seen in the combine and based on his on-field production and all that stuff, and I'm not saying he's a bad player or anything like that, it just kind of feels like I don't know. It's just not there. I don't see anything that's necessarily elite about what he'd be able to provide. I don't think it would be smart to spend a top pick on a tight end at this time. So, like Brian Bresee, Nolan Smith, I do think he has unicorn type traits. Anton Harrison would be a guy. Broderick Jones. DeJuan Jones would be there. And now we're starting to talk about like second round picks. So we could trade down 3 picks. We could still get a very good guy. We could even potentially trade all the way down to where the Bills are. And I still think there will be a guy like a DeJuan Jones and Anton Harrison there potentially. We'll see if maybe a Brian Branch falls at that point. Maybe a Brian Bresee is there. I would feel more comfortable at that point. But let's just try to finesse this as much as we can. Jason, I'm kind of in the same boat with you. Let's start with Washington. We'll see how much we can actually finesse this, right? So I need to make the picks. That's fine. That's all fine and dandy. So we're going to offer up our 13th. They're going to try to give us their 16th. That's interesting. Trade is lopsided. Your team owner will veto it. That's fine. That's fine. We're only talking about a trade of 3 picks. And I want to say one of the trade situations I've seen before, we picked up like I think when we only moved a couple slots, we got like a third. And I want to say we got like a late round pick or 2. So let's just see if we can grab that. I think this is their first, their third, and I think that's a 5th and a 6th maybe. I don't know what the I'm not going to go that deep with it and pull up like the trade value chart and all that. Let's just see if this gets it done. And it works. Okay. So we grab an additional 3 picks after trading with the Washington Commanders. They really wanted Quentin Johnston. Okay, so they're trying to get things built out over there after picking Jahan Dotson last year. Lucas Van Ness goes to the Pats. Jackson Smith goes to the Packers. Try for the 2nd and 3rd. Oh, man, I don't know if that would have worked. I don't even think that's smart business sense from like the command. I mean, maybe we could have fleeced them. I don't think it's smart business sense, though, that trade would have got accepted. Cardinals want to come up from the 2nd round. Chicago Bears want to come up from the 2nd round. Okay, so I'm definitely not trading out of the 1st. So that's out of the question. So we're definitely making a pick here. We basically are still looking at the same crop of guys, which is nice. So the question is do we want to try to fill a huge need at safety? Granted, I don't see that happens, not this high, especially not for a guy that's like a true free safety either. He's just more kind of a jack of all trades. We don't need a cornerback. Tight end would just be a misuse of resources. Nolan Smith is really intriguing to me with what he put on at the combine and what he's able to do at Georgia and what he could bring to us. I also still think that we would have our pick of a guy like they have Anton Harrison so much higher than what I've been seeing him at. We really do need to address the offensive line, but I think we could still find us a really good guy in the 2nd. There's also not too many linebackers. I would imagine that the team is just that's tough. Okay. So I think the question for me really is, do we want to go tackle or do we want to go Nolan Smith? I would even say Brian Broussais. Those are kind of the three guys that I'm looking at. Brian Broussais, Nolan Smith, and then one of the top tackles that's here. Nolan Smith might be a tough sell, but you can use him everywhere, literally everywhere. Brian Broussais would give Quinnen Williams a young running mate that could potentially do a lot of damage on the interior right away. Anton Harrison's the best pass blockers. Yep. I'm pretty sure I did a breakdown on him, and I do remember some of the traits and stuff that they brought out. I don't know if best pass blocker is like the title that I would give to him necessarily. I'm trying to remember. Anton Harrison might be the guy that I heard is I want to say they called him like this year's version of Charles Cross, if I'm remembering correctly. Can you make sure it's on? Let me just take a look. Harrison, Broderick, Dewan. So there's only 5 guys that I would be comfortable with in the top 2 rounds, right? Well, not only, but I mean, based on what we have left. Anton Harrison is definitely an option. I really do like the Broderick Jones more as a prospect. And I like DeJuan Jones physically purely from like a physical standpoint. Cody Mock is the other guy that I think could be a really good sneaky addition for us that may be there. So I feel like the best bang for the buck for us would probably be on defense to try to continue getting things improved there, since I don't think there's a huge talent gap between what we're seeing right now and, what may still be there in the second round. Is there not an all option here, or why is oh, okay, just exit out. Gotcha. So yeah, he's like Cross, but his run blocking's not great. Broderick Jones seems like the best combination of high upside still and current physical attributes and stuff to be able to pull off kind of like a balance of potentially being able to play right away, and then still having a lot of growth for the future. I think we are going to go either Brian Broussais or Nolan Smith. I think one of those 2 guys get edged out. If I had to decide over which one I think Robert Saleh will pick, I would definitely say it's probably defensive line. Brian Broussais' injury history scares me. I would say Nolan Smith. I think he's one of those guys that can probably be the next version of a CJ Mosley for our defense. I'm going to go Nolan Smith. Yeah. Defense makes more or Jones? I got you. I think the value for us is better in the second round with the tackles. Defense, you only really get a couple of shots every year to really find somebody that's like a game changer. I'll be right back. Hold on. Okay. Scary. Let's see what happened. Okay. Oh yeah, that's right. They had a pick forfeited. I forgot about that. Okay. So Joey Porter went next. Jordan Addison to the Lions. Brian Branch goes to the Bucks. Seahawks get themselves Seahawks have 2 first-round picks. Oh, that's nuts. Okay, so they grab Jalen Carter and they go and get themselves probably the best tight end. Okay. Broderick Jones goes. Okay, that sucks. Ravens get themselves another tight end. Kalijah Cansey goes to the Vikes. Thanks, Flowers, Torrance. He's a guy we could have looked at. Brisse's off. Bijan Robinson goes to the Bengals. Ooh. Joe Mixon and Bijan. Anton Harrison goes to the Saints. Forbes, Sanders, Antonio Johnson, Keeley, Cam. God damn it. I thought DeJuan Jones would have made it. Darnell Wright's gone. Josh Downs, Jameer, Keon, Will, Trenton. Okay. So at this point, it seems like options are going to be pretty limited at the tackle spot. Let's see who they are projecting. Tanner, I'm not going edge this early. Mozzie, BJ, Diana Henley, Stephen Avila is a really good name that I've been hearing. I heard he was crushing it during the combine week, but I don't know 100% about him yet. I barely just started checking him as part of my scouting breakdown. Jack Campbell, Tyreek, Luke Weipler. None of the centers came off the board yet. So, the 43rd pick. Did we get a second rounder from... No, yeah, we only have one pick this round. We got the third rounder from him, right? So, pick 43 is what I'm looking at now, 74 and 97. John Michael Schmitz will still be on the board. Luke Weipler, I am not the biggest fan of, but I also really like Joe Tipman. Where is I know PFF doesn't have John Michael Schmitz not on here, right? Wow, why is he why is he ranked below these other guys? He's like the consensus top center that I've seen, like anywhere. That's nuts. I would say maybe we keep an eye on it then, right? I think we could probably get away maybe with trying to pick up the tackle that we need. Cody Mock is still there. It would be between Jalen Duncan and Cody Mock for me. Cody Mock is a guy that I think offers way more versatility. They played him at center at the Senior Bowl. They played him at guard. I won't say he got rave reviews, but things went pretty well. And Daniel Kelly also had pretty high remarks for him as well. So not to take one man's opinion, but it seems like more people are higher out there about Cody Mock being able to succeed inside than out. Whew, that is tough. Okay. Cody Mock he could potentially be a great tackle for us or a great inside line guy either way. Or we can just go and snatch one of these centers now, but they aren't. PFF has disrespect, man. That's crazy. Okay. I think we definitely need to throw a tackle into the mix. So the question is do we like Jalen Duncan more or Cody Mock? Yeah, PFF it's not the best. I think Pro Football Network is what I'll end up sticking to moving forward. Keep in mind, we picked up Jawan Taylor, at least in my mock free agency. So technically the right side is good. Left tackle is where there would be question marks. Dwayne Brown's back. Mekhi Becton can battle him there. So Cody Mock can either be developed as a tackle of the future, or we could try to throw him in at like center right away. Something of that effect. Decisions. We might not need to take a center right now. So we're looking at Mekhi Becton or Dwayne Brown on the left side, Laken Tomlinson at guard, question mark at center, but we did pick up Ben Jones, AVT at right guard, and then we're looking at Jawan Taylor or maybe Max Mitchell if he somehow wins at right tackle. Center is really going to be the obvious need. Technically, tackle isn't really an issue, but we might want to have one on standby. So I don't see anybody that I necessarily am like, we need to have them. Okay. This might be a bit of an overdraft, right? But there was a guy that had a ridiculous combine, and I know that's not everything. I do want to go out and check his tape, but I'm pretty sure this Sidney Brown guy from Illinois is the one that just had a like a combine for the ages, and I believe he generally plays free safety. Jason, for me, Duncan is better at left tackle. Cody Mock will be better across the line. Yeah, Cody Mock kind of seems like our Kroger version of AVT. I think it would be worthwhile having him being able to jump onto the offensive line, and we can figure out what position we feel like he's better at. And in year 2, he'll have much better chances of maybe cracking the rotation. I don't think, if we're excluding injuries, I don't think there's an immediate entry into a starting position on the offensive line unless the staff clearly feels like one of these guys is better than who we have. Dwayne Brown and Mekhi Becton could be borderline elite guys, but definitely above average when healthy. Laken Tomlinson is probably our spot for an upgrade, but again, we'll see what happens in year 2. The center position is really the only position where I see a guy that might be able to jump in right away and have some success. I would say for the versatility aspect, we should go Cody Mock. I think we can find one of these centers later on, but second wave, what's good, my boy? Yeah, kid situation. I only have so much time, to be able to run through stuff. Okay, so do we want to grab whoever we feel like the best center is right now for us? Forget the rankings. Or do we want to grab like Cody Mock, who will be the best versatile piece for us to glean? I'm leaning towards Cody Mock. I feel like Joe Tippmann might be there in the third for us, but I am very comfortable also trying to move up and find somebody in the draft, find a partner in the draft to move up if one or two of these guys come off the board. I want to keep track of these tackles too on the defensive side because we do need to grab somebody at some point. Siaki is probably the only other guy I know for sure off the top of my head would probably be a good prospect, but Cameron Young I'm sort of familiar with. Jonah Tavai I've heard a bit about. Javon Dexter was a guy that we grabbed before. I want to say they had him as like a second-round pick or something crazy, though. I'm going to say let's go Cody Mock. I think that makes the best sense. Versatile piece. We can try to see if he can work himself into center right away. If he doesn't, that's not a problem. Campbell, Darnell, Mozzie, Hendon. Okay, John Michael Smith already went. Lions scooped him up. So the other two options that I would be looking at is Jason Tippmann as a guy that's maybe a true center. Jason Cody Mock will make me happy. All right. It seems like we've generally been able to work our way on the same page with this. I would love to be in the war room one day while they're running through this. I gotta hear what those conversations are really like. If another center comes off the board, we're going to go and try to grab our guy. Joe Tippmann is the guy, honestly, that I've been looking at for a while. I just love the combination of athletic traits that he has and what he's demonstrated. Former MVP in high school and all this crazy stuff. I think his makeup screams New York Jet, but we'll see. Edge, Tariq. Sidney Brown has already gone to the Bills. That is a pain. Andre Carter II. Jalen Duncan goes in the third. Battle. Dexter. Okay. Our center is here. Joe Tippmann would be my guy. Olawatimi would probably be my backup. Ricky Stromberg is a guy I like really, really, really late. But let's see what we're looking at. Wide receiver still a little too high for me. Cornerbacks, tight ends, I'm not looking at. Joe Tippmann might just need to be the pick here. So that would set us up pretty well. Most experts think Cody Mock is going to be a better interior player than on the outside anyways, right? So he could be a guard or center of the future, or you can just say, let's prep him for guard or tackle. Joe Tippmann will be our center of the future. And then we drafted Nolan Smith in the first round to kind of be the next anchor of our defense, essentially, for the next foreseeable future. And we have an extra pick in the third round thanks to our trade with the Commanders. And there's a guy that I looked into, and I'll probably be dropping a video before Monday about it too, that I really like, is safety outside of the Illinois kid that popped up at the combine. Okay, so I say let's just go ahead and we'll do our double dipping now. We're going to take Joe Tippmann. Athletic monster. Maybe he beats out Ben Jones. Maybe he doesn't, but God damn it. Bengals took him. Christopher Smith. Oh, Bengals. Safety. Here we go. Skinner's still on the board. I do like Brown. It might be a little bit early for him. Brandon Joseph would be a sneaky, pretty good pickup, but a lot of these guys I feel like we could probably sit and wait on. The best value, if we could pull it off, would probably be Brown from Penn State. I'm not taking him now. It's early, but at least his supposed value is ranking right around when our next fourth round pick will come up. Is there anybody else? Let's see. A couple wide receivers, a couple running backs. I'm not doing that. Dorian Williams, Moro Jomo. It might be time to look DT, but I want to see if I want to say Isaki came off already. I think Ben came off, matter of fact. Yeah. Ben came off. Okay, it's the third round. I don't know about the Moro guy. Texas. As much as we need a defensive tackle, I've like checked out almost none of these guys. 12 games, 12, 10. He's picked up 5 sacks. Did they not give me yeah, I have no idea what his size or anything is. A gap, B gap. Okay, so mostly B gap. So that means he's playing the left side, right? Shaded over the tackle outside, so he's at least versatile. Yeah, that's crazy that they don't okay, 6'3", 281. I don't know if we go that undersized. Jason, you're saying Maxi or Carl Brooks? Who? I don't know. I don't see a Maxi. Unless you're talking about Maxwell, and it seems like he's way under our projections. Carl Brooks. He's probably off the board already. Yeah, because we're not drafting a cornerback. At least not so high. And you said Benton? Yeah, I don't see any of those guys. Oh, Carl Brooks went before us. He's an edge guy. I don't think we need an edge unless he had like interior versatility. But Mojo, he's undersized. KJ, wide receiver. Kobe Turner. Let me see what he's talking about. 6'3", 290. Slightly better, but I feel like we'll end up being in the same boat. Three sacks, 4 hits, 27 hurries. So he seems like a pressure guy. He lines up in B gap as well, slightly over the tackle. Wake Forest hasn't really had I don't think Wake Forest has really had like a really strong defensive tackle guy that I remember off the top of my head since I can't remember what his name was, but there was a guy that ended up being arrested for, I want to say like false rape charges or something crazy, but he had that crazy if I'm thinking of the same school, he had that crazy hit that like took the running back's helmet off. Jacqueline Roy. This might be more of our guy. Plug and play, yada yada. He's young enough, 22, 13, 26. So what? He's played in 35 games, slogged about, what is that? Maybe just shy of 1,500 snaps. More pass opportunities than rushing. So he's not okay. So this makes sense if you just take a look at his sack numbers and what they predicted. Not a guy that really is going to go out there and force the issue, but when things come to him, he'll make the play happen. Quite a bit of hurries. He's not a guy that's going to get up to bat the ball. He's played significantly more in A and B gap. Not quite as much over tackle, though. I don't think he'd be much of a guy for like a 4-3 role with us. He's interesting, though. It's weird trying to find a guy that's going to be that's going to have the size so that he's not just getting tossed around, but also isn't just going to be like a sitting dud. By the way, I really like Ivan Pace, but seeing that we grabbed Nolan Smith, I don't, I can't ever see us grabbing more than one linebacker in this draft. I'm really pissed that Christopher Johnson went to the Bengals. You said Mozzie Smith, by the way. Let me see. When did he come off the board? Or did I miss him up here? Let me see. Yeah, no, I think we just ran through this whole scenario. Where did let me see. He went to the Packers way back in the second round. Jesus. Okay. I don't think I want to chance things. I want to say let's just make the smart play. We'll pick a safety that we feel comfortable with, and then we will definitely address our defensive tackle concerns next. So let's go J.L. Skinner. There's so, man. The only tough part about that is I really wanted Christopher Johnson or Christopher Smith. Also, I really prefer Jair Brown. So maybe we just take the hit. I know it's probably a little bit of an overreach, but from what I know, I like Jair Brown's game a little bit better. So let's just scoop him up. Texans grab Skinner. I am very surprised that Andrew Voorhees went early. He's one of the guards that tore their ACL during the combine. Nolan Smith is a edge outside linebacker, not a 4-3 linebacker. With Nolan Smith, I think his physical traits kind of supersede the role that he's played before. Obviously, this is huge, conjecture and all that stuff. But if for the reason that Robert Saleh has mentioned before, why they don't want to invest significant capital unless a guy's a unicorn, they much so more so prefer the physical traits, and then they will build. They will make sure they kind of build the guy into the scheme, right? He's a guy I feel like can maybe make that transition maybe sooner than most guys based on what he's able to do. And I don't know, it's tough. You're not wrong. I understand kind of where he's coming from with that, but maybe he becomes a version of like a Micah Parsons for us, which I don't think anybody would necessarily be upset at. But if they do want to try to make him a project and then, convert him into a 4-3 linebacker, I'm not mad at it. I'm not upset that we grabbed him. A great player is a great player, regardless. But with Brian Brisset being on the board, I wouldn't. I probably would have went that route too. Okay, so we definitely need to go defensive tackle, 100%. I find it interesting. None of these guys came off. So, okay. 4 picks left, not including the one that we're currently looking at. And as mentioned, I only know like 1 or 2 of these guys here closer to the bottom. I don't like the undersized 280, but let me see what they were talking about with Morrow again. Coming from Texas is something that I like. He's been able to be a little bit more versatile going on the outside and the inside, so maybe they'll like that versatility. He's essentially had his best season. Granted, there's been maybe a slight decrease in overall snaps. Two-gapping scheme. So they project him to be a 3-4 defensive end. That wouldn't be where we would utilize him since we're a 1-gap and attack defense. Kobe Turner, he was the 290 guy, if I remember correctly. Yeah. He's been more consistent with his production in the pass rushing department. He's actually been able to contribute with shutting down some passing lanes. He is more so one-dimensional. What am I looking at? First look. He doesn't really have any kind of analysis on him at all. Jacqueline Roy, I don't think, thinking about it now, that maybe we should go over 300. Keandre Coburn. Bill low to the earth. You're not putting a 6'2", 344-pound guy anywhere else on the other than nose tackle. Yeah, if we're not picking up the other guy that's 315, we're definitely not taking him. Gerard Clark, Jonah Tavai. I mean, PJ Mustafa. I hate to just take a random shot on a guy. I don't even see that name on here, Jason. Yeah, he wasn't drafted, and he didn't pull up when I went through searching the guys. You sure you got the right name? Hold on. Nothing a quick Google search can't try to fix. PJ Mustafa. Okay, so he's with Penn State. Are we sure he's a guy that's in this draft? Yeah, they have him marked as a 2023 NFL draft guy. I didn't hold on. I didn't see him at all. He definitely hasn't been drafted yet. He's not even on this list. I wonder if no, because I tried to search for him. He's not even on the list. I wonder if they have him marked as like an undrafted free agent guy. That might be what's happening there. Let me just see who's at the top and available for us. I actually wouldn't mind starting to look at wide receiver options as well. But I think, to be honest, we just throw the dart since I don't know much about these tackles, and the Morrow guy from Texas might end up being who we roll with. Yeah, I know that's tough. I feel you, Jason. That is tough. I'm not sure what's going on, but as we've seen, PFF might. Yeah, I think that's going to be a no go for me moving forward. I need to get my knowledge up, y'all. I'm only 4 rounds deep, and I'm starting to look at these names like they're in hieroglyphs. Let's go with Morrow. It's not the way I would like for a draft to turn out, but I could live with taking a shot on one guy like this. So we have our tackle. Well, we have our edge guy or however we want to try to play him at linebacker. We have Nolan Smith. We have Cody Mock. We have I want to say Jerry Stidham. That's not it. What's the center dude we drafted again? Yeah, I feel like it was just before Jair. Joe Tippmann. There we go. Joe Tippmann, Jair Brown. I wouldn't even look at running back until one of our last 2 picks. Technically, the rest of I wouldn't say we really have any other clear needs, right? We need to try to find another weapon at wide receiver. I don't think it's even if we get a tight end, it needs to be a UDFA, and we can find somebody to try to go like the Kenny Yeboah route. Quarterback, I'm not a fan of taking a quarterback this class either. I would say wait a year or two. We're gonna run this back. We're gonna run this back. Let's say maybe 2-3 weeks, Jason. I should have a lot more names under my belt, and then we're gonna do Pro Football Network. Maybe that'll be a better experience again. I'm not sure why your guy's not on the list. I don't feel like we would double dip at safety. I don't think we would pick another offensive lineman once again. So this starts feeling like that territory where you go out and you find a guy that you feel like can be a starter maybe in the next year or two. Let's take a look at weapons. Ronnie Bell. Why does that name sound familiar? I think I'm thinking of a different guy. I could have swore there was another guy from Michigan named Ronnie Bell, maybe from like 2 drafts ago. See, even at this point, none of these wide receivers ring a bell either. Everything for me has been so focused on the offensive line and some of the early defensive tackles, some of the linebackers, at least I've heard connections to, like Demarion Overshown and Calvin Pace. And then some of these safeties. It's been very hasn't been a widespread draft class for me. Philadelphia Eagles want the pick. I'm not even entertaining trades anymore. We don't we don't need any more extra draft picks with me being the one making these decisions right now. Okay. We'll just start taking a look at some of these guys here as we run through the list and seeing if we can just make some educated guesses. Not going linebacker again. Edge, I would say, is probably still an option, just knowing how much the team loves them. 6'4", 260, but he's already 24 years old. If this isn't a guy that's going to be like a Michael Clemens, wouldn't make sense to me. Kobe Turner, was this the 340-something pound guy? No. 290. He hasn't played very many games, but he's been a more consistent presence. Maybe we take another shot at defensive tackle. If your guy was on the board, Jace, not 100% go and grab him. Yasir Abdullah. 6'1", 242. An edge guy. I don't think he'd fly with us. Kobe Wooden. Boy, we about to just start pulling names out of a hat in a minute. I might have to go back to the drawing board. 6'5", 284. He's 22. He's played in a good amount of games. He's been a pretty consistent force. He's consistent in the passing lanes, A gap, B gap. He has pretty nice versatility. I'd take a shot on Kobe Wooden. Just based off the random stuff that I'm seeing there. I'm seeing a lot more offensive line guys go off the board. I think we look at a wide receiver for sure with our next pick. We could speed it up at this point. I'm not worried about missing out on anybody. All right, strictly looking at wide receivers, I'm not going to worry about value. I would like to see a guy that's a little bit bigger, though. Let's say 6'2" is like the minimum requirement we're looking at. Okay. Jake Bobo, 6'5", 215, a redshirt senior. So I believe that means he's played, all 5 years of eligibility? All right, so he's played out of the slot. He's played on the boundary. He just essentially had a breakout year for himself. Interesting. Okay. Uh, 6'5", 216. I don't see anything that necessarily stands out to me. Yeah, they don't even show combine stats on this, huh? Puka Nakua, 6'2", 205. Lack of games is concerning. Not a lot of pass opportunities. I'm not going to overthink this one too much. Let's roll with a Jake Bobo. If I was Joe this year, I really don't like a lot of the first round options. I would try to trade out of the first round. I'm not against that idea necessarily, but the whole perk of being in the first round is that you get that 5th year versatility in order to kind of make things work out in your favor, right? So technically, in the worst case scenario, when you're talking about franchise tagging a guy 2 times, you essentially control them for 7 years, right? So it would be better to find a guy that you think maybe can be like a high upside candidate, and then you have him for 5 to 7 years. And then if he leaves, he leaves. But I think it offers a lot more protection. When you talk about like a 2nd round pick, then you start getting into that territory of after that 2nd, 3rd year, automatically those extension talks are starting to come. And if you can hit on the guy, then cool. But if not, then, it just kind of speeds up the timetable quite a bit. But I'm not saying we should do this because I've already said that we shouldn't grab a quarterback. I don't think it would make sense to grab one this year. Next year would be a better option if you want to talk about like a stash and develop guy. But I'm tempted to grab Stetson Bennett. I wonder, let me see, if Joe Douglas had the opportunity to trade out of the first round. Okay, so the thing about trading out of the first round too is I would have to assume we've traded down once before, right? Something similar like what we did with the Commanders. The other piece of it is, what kind of draft return are we getting to drop all the way from the 13th pick to wherever in the 2nd round? It'd have to be somebody already picking in like the top half. I don't know if there's enough draft capital out there for somebody to offer for like a move like that to be pulled off, at least in one trade. We probably have to get somebody like a DJ Moore ourselves, somebody that's in the upper tier of the NFL at their position. You know what? Right now, the rest of the draft is, shits and gigs. So let's roll with a potential quarterback of the future, but somebody that could probably be a strong backup quarterback option. Stetson Bennett. And we have 1 pick left. I wouldn't mind looking at a running back. The crazy part is we could probably really just look at the undrafted free agent well every year. Now that we have Breece Hall and we feel comfortable with Michael Carter, we'll see if we pick up anybody in free agency, but it really gives you the opportunity now to, look at the bottom of the barrel, and at least at the running back position, that bottom of the barrel is nice. So very few options. Per usual, I know none of these names, but let me see what USC guy is talking about. $5'10", 200, already going on 24. He has put up some numbers. Okay, let me turn it up a little bit. He's been able to contribute in the passing game. Why not? Let's just run with the guy. It's not like I'm going to have a eureka moment. Travis Dye. The crazy part is we've gone through this whole draft, and I think I feel more comfortable in the 3-round mock draft that I did before this.
Who talking?
I'm streaming.
I'm sorry. I'm coming.
I don't care. Oh, this is what, okay. This is what everybody be posting up in the Bleacher Report community things. I was wondering why I never seen grades on the Pro Football Network draft. Chicago and Houston and Seattle all have enough picks this year. Or I'm assuming that's next year because of their trades for quarterbacks. No, I get that. But you tell me what kind of, let me know what kind of trade package you're talking about that would make me drop from 13, let's say all the way down to the first pick in the second round. But still, I would, I don't know. I could see the fan base kind of going crazy. So we only got a few highly graded selections. Stetson Bennett in the 6th. Kobe Wooden in the 5th. Joe Tippmann in the 3rd. Everybody else they hate. I don't understand the hate for the Cody Mock pick. I can see Nolan Smith being rated low. Maybe we only got a B from the Commanders because we could have fleeced them more. They didn't like the Jair Brown pick. Jake Bobo was a dud. Travis Dye was a dud. That's fine. It's not like I knew what the hell was going on at that point. But, yeah, overall, I think I'm excited about the free agent class. Jawan Taylor is nice. Having a guy like Ben Jones come in, I think is cool. Will allow Joe Tippmann to sit. Who else did I say that we grabbed? We grabbed Jacoby Myers to replace Carl Lawson. We re-signed Nate Herbig. We picked up Arden Key. We re-signed Quincy Williams. We grabbed Thomas Morstead. So I'm more excited about the free agent class than necessarily what we did in this draft. I would still stand by the Nolan Smith pick and saying I think he can be a fantastic player in this defense. Cody Mock, I still think was a smart decision for being able to have that versatility, but really stash and develop a guy that has, again, elite athletic measurables. Joe Tippmann's obvious. Jair Brown, I think, was a smart pickup. Everybody after round 3 was a toss-up. So I can at least say that there's a valid argument to make for at least those selections in the first 3 rounds. Second and third this year, and first round picks next. Are we saying like multiple first round picks, or are we just saying that we're going to get a bunch of day 2 picks and then like a future first rounder? I'm done looking at the draft. Did terrible. I did all right. It's not what I would have. I don't know. It's not the best one. I probably should stop doing this so late too. My brain's it's not in it. I think the reasonings were valid though. I don't think anybody's going to go back and look at it at face value and say, oh, he killed it. My man's put in the work. And it's just my luck. I have a Madden draft coming up as well, and I am sleepy. Yeah, I don't know about that though, Jason. If it's multiple second and third round picks, I think that's the only way you walk away from trading into day 2 and you say, okay, we're going to be picking up a lot of good value and we feel comfortable about it. I think the guys at the top, From what we've seen, right, we're saying Brian Bresee is an option. Nolan Smith is an option. And this is just in general. These are like guys that I'm considering as like, the top tier guys potentially in the first round available to us. Brian Bresee, Nolan Smith, any one of the wide receivers. And then you would be looking at like the tackle options, but it depends on how I guess far of a drop they feel it is. Day 2s this year and first round picks next. I'm not opposed to it. Again, I think just off the top of my head, hearing you say it, it'd have to be multiple day 2. I'm not even going to stick with the day 2 talk. It's going to have to be multiple round 2, round 3 picks, and then a future one. We're talking, the Panthers trading up with the Bears, an 8-pick differential. They got, I don't know where you guys will rank DJ Moore, but let's say a top 15 wide receiver. They got a first round pick this year. They swapped first rounders. They got a second rounder next year. And then what was it? Like I think they swapped like 6-round picks and they picked up like an extra 5th or something like that. So I don't know. We're talking about dropping at least 13 to 32 is 19 picks. So something over 19 picks. I think at least in terms of the trade value chart, it probably wouldn't make a ton of sense. I don't think somebody could trade their entire draft class dropping that deep, and at least the trade value chart would A-OK it. Again, I could be completely wrong, but Chicago got 2 firsts, 2 seconds, and more. 2 firsts, 2 seconds, and more for an 8-pick differential. Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. I don't know. Hopefully what I'm saying makes sense. I don't know. You'd have to give up your entire draft class and then some off the top of my head to drop out of the first round. What did I don't even feel like looking it up, but I'm trying to remember what the Ravens gave up to go up and grab Lamar at the end of the first round. I want to say it was 3 picks. Whoops. Let me see. So, our picks is only 1150. Their picks is 3000. Yeah, I get that higher value picks, but I mean, just in terms of them making it up, those multiple day 2 and day 3 picks aren't going to be as high value as what we're talking about at the top either. Big difference in value. Fair. All right, let me see. So when the Ravens traded up for Lamar, they traded up with the Eagles. The Ravens sent pick 52, 125, a 2019 second rounder, which was the next year's draft, and they got the 32nd and 132nd pick. So basically, the Ravens gave up a second. I think that's a fifth. So 2 seconds and a fifth. And they got back a first. Okay. They gave up 2 seconds. They swapped fifth rounders. Maybe you're on to something. Okay. That's not as crazy as I thought it was. Maybe you're on to something. Luna, you sleep? Yeah, you gotta go. You gotta go to your home, lady. Most second round picks are valued in the 400 range. You know what? I'll say this. I tried to think about it earlier today when I was talking with somebody. I honestly, truly can't name off the top of my head, and maybe I need a list. But when Joe Douglas has done a trade, I honestly can't remember us being on the bad end of any one of those. So if he pulls something like that off and he drops out of the first round, I'm all for it at this point. If you get 2, that's 800 plus a third in next year's first. Yeah. If he finds a way to get another first round pick, I think that would excite anybody. So, I mean, don't mind me. I'm just a little caught up on trying to keep what we got, I guess. Which, speaking of which, I don't have Twitter and all that, but let me just let me double check the things. I'm pretty sure if any Aaron Rodgers news broke, I would have got a couple zzz on the phone, but let me make sure nothing's popped off. It's been a lot of Aaron Rodgers watch parties busting out. Freed up cap space. Packers president's comments. Okay. Yeah, nah, I don't see anything. Okay. Well, I think the takeaways for me, I'm going to stick to 3-round mock drafts, at least for the next month, when I can get quite a few more names under my belt and reconsider some things. I think I kind of wanted to have 2 different conversations, one with the draft scout guy and then the Jets reporter, just kind of covering all of the news. But I'm thinking maybe I have them run through the mock draft with me as well. That might be a better way to go about it. Remember, his trade for ATV was 26 for 13, and we only gave up 2 third rounders. 26 for 13. Wait, was that how far we jumped up? AVT was, wait a minute. I thought AVT was like a high 20s. I remember the compensation for sure. He was the number 14th overall pick. Okay, so we're just pulling hairs at that point. But okay. I'm with you. So we would have probably like two picks in each round, I take it. 2 seconds to 2/3. Wait, what do you mean? Shouldn't I have won the AFC? 11-4. Oh, because the Bills are right there. Okay. Fail. 2 seconds, 2/3. I'm gonna feel this in the morning. I think I still got a video I need to try to record too. I find this extremely funny because I almost never talk this much. And so I don't know how people are doing these Aaron Rodgers watch parties for like 4, 5, 6 hours. I'm just not that committed. I will say though, I appreciate y'all sticking around. I know it's like 6, 7 of y'all in here probably, and it's late as hell since most of y'all are on the East Coast. So that's what's up. Jason, you're wilding, man. It's not that serious to me. If I wake up and I hear the news, then it is what it is. But I got to check out that interview that Brandon Marshall did with Aaron Rodgers before I bounce, or before I go to sleep anyways, for sure. But yeah, man, I'm not with Aaron Rodgers. Who knows? He might hit up Elon Musk, tell him to fly to the moon, put a message out there on like some what's that Will Smith movie, Hitch? Or Hancock. I'm not about it. I think the man will be a beast in New York, but man, this takes the term diva to like new levels. I just can't say. Yeah, I be having sleep problems too. I'm doing all this talking about going to bed, and I might end up being in there just laying down for like 2-3 hours. Hey, bro, I'm an Eagles fan that was talking about Gardner Johnson a couple weeks back. Just want to let you know I'm still here supporting. I changed my profile. Hey, my guy, what's up? I appreciate that. I do have a question for you though. Let me know if your thoughts changed at all about Gardner Johnson re-signing with the Eagles. Jason, what do you think about the Chuck Clark trade? I think it was extremely smart. So the immediate question that came up when I like looked into it and dropped my video and like other people chatted me was that a lot of people had the feeling that he was definitely going to be leaving anyways, right? The Ravens were going to cut him. They had the first round pick. They had Marcus Williams. They spent money and they got a couple lower round guys that have been stashed and developed that can take his place. For us to just spend a 7th round pick for a guy that's been starting for 3 years and he's been having decent success. Keep in mind, he's one of the most versatile safeties that you're going to find in the NFL. I think I showed in the video, he's played at defensive tackle. He's played on the edge. He's played slot cornerback, boundary cornerback, free safety, strong safety, linebacker. So he's done a fair amount of everything. He's had decent success rushing the passer, coming off on blitzes. The move to me screamed safe play, right? We wanted somebody it's kind of like pulling the Garrett Wilson card in a way. We know what we're going to get with him as a strong safety and having a consistent presence there, which I think is his true fit. I seen you mention he can't play everywhere. He's been used everywhere. I don't think he's not a guy that's going to dominate no matter where you line him up at. He just doesn't have the physical traits for it. But you can use him in some different ways if you want to try to like sneak another safety onto the field. But I think he's a strong safety that's going to provide a more consistent performance than what we got out of Jordan Whitehead. And it's a pretty smart play since he only gave up a 7th anyways to go ahead and snag a guy like that rather than having to get into a bidding war and you get him on a super cheap contract and all that good stuff. It looks like we were right. It really looks like he'll be gone. Yeah. I didn't think it made a lot of sense that all of those Eagle fans were talking about him being re-signed. I could see why he'd be a priority, but they have a lot of needs: offensive line, defensive line, weapons that they want to try to keep in place. And I think he's what was the market projection? I think he's looking at somewhere between like a $26 and a $32 million contract. I might be way off on that, but let me look it up real quick. We're losing a lot, which is no surprise to me. The rest of our fan base is tripping. I feel you. I think that's every fan base, though. For anybody that's ever jumped into any like New York Jets forum or guys that cover the channel and all that kind of stuff, like for the ones that are generally unreasonable, every free agency, we want to sign anybody that's ever had any level of success. And the sign of any struggles, we want to cut everybody. So it's the downfall of being a sports fan. Market value. Okay, so Chauncey Gardner-Johnson is projected to land a deal with an average salary of $13.3 million. So something like a 5-year, $66 million contract is what every Eagles fan was telling me the team is definitely going to play to keep a playmaker. With Jalen Hurts' contract coming up, well, at least the extension talks that need to be done. I don't know, man. It is what it is. Not everybody does their research. That is crazy, though. I don't think that number was quite as high as what I seen when I covered it a couple weeks back, or a month and a half ago. Yeah. Oh my God. That's benefits of losing the Super Bowl. If you guys would have won and beat out Patrick Mahomes, nobody is saying a word about that man. So the fact that he's been able to deliver 3 Super Bowl appearances in like the last 5 years, I want to say that's the time range, is it's pretty awesome. I think he deserves quite a few whacks at it for sure. I just find it interesting, his team building philosophy, watching how he's pieced some of these pieces together and some of the conversations I've heard about how he's been able to convert players to like different positions and kind of, I guess, undergo a metamorphosis with certain guys. I think it's spectacular. He definitely has an interesting mind. Yeah, right. It will be all good. I mean, to be fair, at least as far as the Super Bowl goes, I didn't get a chance to watch the game because I was at work, I believe. If not that, then I was probably with my kids. But yeah, Jalen Hurts was crushing them. I mean, the only knock about his performances was I think he had 2 fumbles, if I remember correctly, or he had a fumble. Either way, the Chiefs team is one of those rare few teams you literally can't have any mistakes. It's the closest thing to like the Patriots that we've seen this decade. And so if you have that one mistake, it's going to be tough. Jets fans are going crazy about possibly losing Quan Alexander and Quincy Williams in both. Yeah, Jason. Yeah, point proven. 100%. We don't know what being like an upper tier team looks like anymore. So everything is going to be like a lot of nonsense for the most part. Anyway, love your knowledge and what you do, bro. Going to keep on watching. I appreciate that. This I think I mentioned it maybe during a handful of live streams, videos in general. It doesn't matter. I'm not a guy that generally likes to talk a whole lot, but I definitely enjoy I love my sports. I love talking to the peoples, and the Eagles would definitely be my secondary team because of my grandfather, if nothing else. So, yeah, Northeast in general, 100%. I blame it on the cold. Maybe it's not too similar from like West Coast fans. I'm thinking like Chargers, Raiders, and all that. It's either extreme heat or extreme cold. It just causes people to go a little nuts. Jets Unleashed was good, my mans. We're just out here chilling. We ran through a draft. I think it went it went interesting. I don't think a lot of the moves I made would have been popular, but we're having fun with some of the things in the thought process. Everything for the Jets is so magnified. To be fair, the East Coast and like having championship teams and like just winning it all, it's been a long time. Knicks, Nets, Jets, Giants, like it's been a rough go for fans on the East Coast. You think we have Rodgers signed before free agents? Oh, I think I mixed up comments. Yeah, that's how I feel about the Jets. I always had a thing for them. Yeah, facts. We talked about this. I really feel like a lot of the people that are fans of the East Coast team should really be like a lot more tight-knitted. But it's very much so more territorial than anything else. You think we have Rodgers signed before free agents? I can't tell you, to be honest. I mean, somebody made a comment to me earlier, like imagine if the Jets and the Packers agree to something, but they hold off until after June 1st for like cap reasons, which I don't think would be out of the realm of possible. But I don't know. Aaron Rodgers he's out there, man. He's one of those guys that like if he showed up at work, I'm being cordial with, on like, as friendly as I can be while trying to minimize conversations, because the day he comes through with a trench coat, I want him to remember that we were friends. Oh my God, us Jets fans are bugging out 24/7. Facts. I tried to jump into like some forums like Jets Nation and all that I've seen. And I'm one of the what do they call them? I think I'm one of the like team captains or whatever they call it on Bleacher Report for the New York Jets, which is basically just like a forum moderator for the most part. But, they try to keep me tapped in on new features and stuff like that they're doing. And man, the stuff that you see in there just doesn't even make sense. There's people right now that are fighting tooth and nail to argue that we should really be having a quarterback competition with Baker Mayfield and Zach Wilson to see who starts. Like, the foolishness is crazy. What about your mom with the Eagles? That's true. I think he'll be signed by Wednesday. If it goes further than that, we got to make a run at Lamar. I'm not the biggest Lamar fan. I'm not knocking anything that he can do, and that he's not going to be one of the best quarterbacks that we could have gotten our hands on. But something about like something between the injury history and the fact that it didn't really seem, and I don't know how severe like the injury was and all that, but something about you missing a playoff game And again, if it's valid, it doesn't matter. But it seemed like he could have played, and he kind of pulled his own Rodgers and like went MIA on the team, and like he's tweeting stuff, but the GM doesn't know about and all this kind of stuff. It's kind of getting to that level, I feel like, where it's almost like, he's put himself above the team to a certain degree, and they're sacrificing their bodies and all this kind of stuff. But like, you would feel like the communication there should be a lot stronger than what it is. I can imagine that gets hard to listen to after a while. But I tune it out. I do a very good job of ignoring the hell out of people. I can read things and move on. It is what it is. Oh no, you think A-Rod's gonna go Columbine on the Jets? Hey, that man's very what's the word? He has an eclectic personality. You really got to see the Brandon Marshall interview. Rodgers' answers were very interesting. I bet they were. I 100% bet they were. If nothing else, I've seen some people, and I want to say it was like beat writers and like various stuff. Nobody like top level, but they were saying things like he would sign with the New York Jets just to be able to like stick it to Woody Johnson, who's the heir to the Johnson & Johnson company, and I guess one of the companies that were bad mouthing Aaron Rodgers about, his take on vaccines and all this craziness. Like, it's a lot. New York Jets fans, we do a lot sometimes. Like we make things seem much deeper than it really is. There's somebody that kept commenting under my videos if it related to Zach Wilson about him only still being with the team because of his, I want to say it was the uncle that owns JetBlue, which is like the sponsored airline for the Jets or something like that. And I'm like, I don't think it's that deep. One billionaire does not want his money played with by another billionaire. And like, I just don't think it's that deep. Baker Mayfield and Wilson. Yeah, no, facts. Lamar gets hurt way too much. Most of him missing games has come down to his running, and that's what concerns me. Greg Roman was probably one of the only offensive coordinators that were going to be able to turn him into a productive quarterback in the NFL right out the gate like he was. I would be concerned about seeing him in another offense that isn't going to want to tailor make their whole offense around what he does best. Who do you like if A-Rod goes back into his cave? I was pretty high on Ryan Tannehill. I want to say it was the 2019 season he had where he was playing like an all-pro. That really struck out to me. I think if I couldn't go Ryan Tannehill, I'm not comfortable with Jimmy Garoppolo and his injuries either. I would really go a guy like Gardner Minshew or Jacoby Brissett. Like, those are kind of my next top three options. Ryan Tannehill, I would probably put Jacoby Brissett over Gardner Minshew just because of how efficient he is, and then Gardner Minshew. Last 2 years, 12 games doesn't look good. Yeah, things have been rough. But that goes back to us being Jets fans. Like, it's been rough for them and what they do. But in the same token, what looks bad for every other quarterback would be leaps and bounds above what we've had to deal with. So, like, would I want to pay $45 million for what we've seen over the last 12 games? Definitely not. But when you talk about the span of like 3-4 years, he's definitely going to give us anything better than what we've seen from Zach Wilson currently, from guys like Mark Sanchez. Like, it'd be pretty hard to not get a worse guy than what we've seen so far. I'm not a Lamar guy either. I don't hate him, but I will look elsewhere. Yeah, I don't mind continuing to try to go back to the NFL draft to find a quarterback that we can finally make work. Do I want to do it every other year, every 2-3 years? Definitely not. But I don't want to really – it's one of the few positions I don't really want to pay for another guy that's been developed elsewhere. With our quarterback history, if we get Lamar, who are we to complain about that? Yeah, facts. Is pretty much in the same token of what I'm saying. It'd be very hard to find a quarterback that doesn't have success, leagues above what we've seen and what we've tried to do. What do you think the draft will look like, picks 1 through 10? From what I hear, the Panthers are eyeing CJ Stroud. Let me see what the draft order was again real quick. So Carolina, I would probably say CJ Stroud if, we're not talking about any more trades. The Houston Texans, I can really still see going Bryce Young. It seems like they've soured on who's the kid they had for them just now? Mills. Seems like they've soured on Davis Mills. So Bryce Young, I could see being the new shiny toy for them. Arizona's tough. I feel like they need a wide receiver. Obviously, there's not going to be anybody within that position. And so maybe they try to go back in and really rebuild a defense. I can see that being where, we see Will Anderson probably come off the board, especially because Jalen Carter is having those legal issues. So pending all of that getting wrapped up, I would probably say it's the Bama kid. Indianapolis is interesting. They're probably the wild card. They can really go a lot of different directions. I don't think they're going to be comfortable with Sam Ehlinger or Nick Foles or anything like that. Do they want to take a swing and a trade on a guy like Anthony Richardson, though? I don't think that's I don't know. I wouldn't say that probably makes the most sense. Maybe more so a guy like Will Levis. Seahawks, definitely defense. We've seen in my mock draft Jalen Carter go to him. They've been very comfortable picking up guys with like checkered past before. The Lions, I can see them trying to find another cornerback. Raiders. 7, 8, 9, and 10. I don't know about the Raiders. The Falcons, I would probably say. See, the simulator had the Falcons taking quarterback too. I don't know enough about the needs for the Raiders, Falcons, and the Bears necessarily. I think the Bears will go defense. Maybe they try to go and snag the wide receiver they're most comfortable with. But they got a pretty good roster being built up in terms of weapons. Chase Claypool over there. They're just not getting DJ Moore. Maybe they go and grab themselves Quentin Johnston or something like that. I'd put Mike White over Minshew or even Baker. We haven't seen what White can do healthy. That's true. I wouldn't say that's necessarily a fact that can be argued, but I think that I've seen enough of Mike White to know that he doesn't have like a super high ceiling. So what you're going to get with Mike White is probably closer along the lines of what you're going to get with Jacoby Brissett. Consistent performances. Generally, there's not going to be a lot of turnovers, but we've seen games where Mike White is, forcing the issue a little bit. And we're seeing him toss, 2, 3, 4 picks. If you could draft a quarterback, who is your guy? I would go because we would have the luxury, assuming we get Aaron Rodgers, we would have the luxury of being able to really sit on a guy for a year or two. I would go Anthony Richardson. He's the guy with the most tools in the entire draft. He gives you the option to have a mobile quarterback that doesn't necessarily need to run all the time. He has the arm strength. We've seen what he did at the combine. I would take him in a heartbeat and stash him for that year or two. And then we will roll from there. Come on, you didn't get the 10th pick. Eagles. I don't know. There's a lot of ways that you guys can go with this. I would probably say, assuming who's available, maybe a guy like Tyree Wilson, the edge from Texas Tech, if he's there. Maybe one of the first offensive linemen coming off the board, which I would probably say, since you guys value the ability to have versatility there as well, probably Skoronski. But White is a decent backup, but not a starter. Yeah, I think he's one of those quintessential guys that he comes in, he can win a few games for you in a pinch, and then anything beyond that, you're kind of pushing your luck. I'll probably give you guys like these next 4 minutes, and I'm going to call it a night. I'm tired. I told myself in my head I'm going to like keep it to an hour, and that plan failed. The only interesting part of our quarterback situation to me right now is if we can really find out a way to still develop Zach Wilson. The part that sucks is that he hasn't even shown that he's a good practice squad player since we've seen success with Chris Streveler and not him. So you're talking about like the developmental leaps he would need to take are insane. You need a guy that can just be on the roster without people batting an eye out on him. Then you would need to prove that you can be a solid backup quarterback. Then you would need to prove that you can be like an above average starter. And then once all that done, you can talk about you being like a success in New York. And I don't think all of that comes over the course of like 2 years. They're taking a corner. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised there. The name that sticks to my mind out of some of the top guys would probably be Christian Gonzalez if he's there. I know, if I remember correctly, I just seen some kind of report saying that you guys were going to try to let Darius Slay seek a trade, right? Who is the number one free agent you want? The number one free agent I want is definitely Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, the safety from the Eagles. But the number one free safety I think we need is probably going to be the tackle Jawan Taylor from the Jags. If the Jets can draft a quarterback in the first, I would. Richard, outside of the first round, it would be Tanner McKee. I keep hearing Tanner McKee's name quite a bit. As far as my opinion on it goes, it only makes sense drafting a quarterback if you feel like he can absolutely 100% be a starter after, 1 to 2 years. And I don't want just, unless you get a guy that you really just know can make plays, it doesn't really matter about the arm talent and all that. Get a guy that has all of the physical tools that you could want, and then see what happens after a year or two. It's very rare that you get a guy like, Brady or somebody like Alex Smith, or who's another guy that doesn't necessarily have like elite physical traits. I think Derek Carr is probably one of those guys. Yeah, I don't know too much about Tanner McKee, but I would 100% be mad if I see us draft any kind of quarterback this draft. I don't think this is the time for that. Find you a guy next year, and then that puts you on a better timeline to where it's not a bit of a waste. Because in a year or two, if Zach Wilson works, then great. And the guy that we drafted now just becomes somebody that we hope can be a backup. If Zach Wilson doesn't work out, then we're talking about either this new guy works or he doesn't, or we're back to the drawing board and we're having to look for somebody that we can give the keys to the franchise to all over again. Cousin. Huh? I missed that. I don't know what that means, but all right, guys. I've got my fill of snacking on broccoli. I think I'm gonna wrap things up here, but I appreciate you guys quite a bit for sticking around. I wasn't expecting the little Q&A stuff at the end, so that was dope. And I would try to find a way to maybe stream more. Also, I think I need to I think one of the things as well was that StreamYard on like the little free package that I have or whatever has like a 5-hour time frame on like how long I can stream, I think. I might be wrong about that. That might just be for like recording videos and everything, but I appreciate you guys. It's been a very enlightening conversation with some I won't say like-minded people that had their heads on right. So it's been cool. I think I actually have quite a few of y'all that aren't just Jets fans. My man that's an Eagles fan. There's a lady from the Packers that's been coming through quite a bit, and I think we got a couple Falcons people, so it's pretty dope. But yeah, I hope you guys have a good one. I am thinking about doing like weekly streams for something. I just don't know what, but maybe we'll just cover the latest news. It is what it is. But I appreciate y'all for sure, and we will link up again. Peace.